Crossroad Conversations with Coach Eric and Coach Kea on the Be Happier podcast. And today we are going to go a little bit deeper. Our first episode was just introducing ourselves, so you get to know us a little bit. Last time we talked about something that was closer to our core, the heart, relationships. And today we are going to go even deeper than that, into your belly, into your gut. And our conversation today will revolve around this focus of food versus fulfillment. Because I come from a middle-class family in India. My parents were college educated, and the programming was, you better have a noble profession, you better get good grades, you go to college, go to a university, get a career, take care of yourself, be independent. And even although I'm a woman, I was a little girl back then, my father always said, you are not less than a son in any way. So whatever a man can do, you can do. And you need to focus on that. So the focus was always about this career, work. So I studied nuclear physics. I became a computer scientist. I worked as a teacher, an engineer for 16 years, and then life took a turn. And now I work as a hypnotherapist for the last 18 years, as a spiritual life coach and energy medicine practitioner. And of course, when I got started working for myself, because the dream thing was you let go of your job and start your own business, work for yourself, don't work for anyone and try to make anyone else rich. It is just like renting versus owning. If you rent a house, your landlord gets rich, but if you own a house, then you build equity. Excuse me, the bank still owns you unless you're done with your mortgage, right? It's the same way when you are working for someone else or working for yourself. Because when you're working for someone else, you work maybe 40 hours a week. When you work for yourself, you work 80 hours a week and don't even get paid initially even 1/10 of what you made. That's the reality. But how do you bridge the gap? I have been doing this since 2001, working, because 2001 is when I lost my job, when our towers came down, when there was the terrorist attack on this country. And it has been a struggle, but it has also brought me immense joy. It has brought me immense pleasure. It has brought me immense tears and pain too. And I raised my kids through that. My youngest one was 1 year old then, is 23 years old now. And my children are grounded citizens, and I have tons of gray, which I have dyed, so you don't see it. But that's where we are. So how do you bridge that gap from working for someone else and helping them fulfill their dreams to working for yourself and finding fulfillment in your life, your purpose, your calling? So how do you do that? So Eric, tell us a little bit about you. And now that you work as a coach, tell us a little bit about your journey.
Yeah, I guess I would class my family as middle class as well. We were probably on the lower end of middle class. Back when I was in school, grade school, I was on what they called the reduced lunch program, so I didn't have to pay the full price, but, I was in a poverty level school. My dad had taken some college classes, but I think he finished an associate's degree maybe, but my mom had no college. I think on my dad's side of the family, I'm the first one to actually get a 4-year degree. So, it's kind of thank you. It's kind of a, new territory for that side of the family. The other side of the family only has a couple of other college graduates by the time I got mine. There's been some since then, but, it's so a lot of how we live life, as you said, that programming that we receive, as a parent myself of 3 children myself, you don't sit down one day and you say, I'm going to program this child to be this, and I'm going to program this child to be this, and I'm going to program that. You just live life, but in the process of living life, you are programming your your mindset into them,
Mm-hmm.
because that's what you know, that's what you possess, that's what you understand, and you teach things you understand. You can't teach something you don't understand or you don't even know about. And so, growing up, there was a lot of, on the lower end of that middle class, there was a lot of values handed up from grandparents who came through the Depression, who, you never throw anything away. There was a lot of that lack mentality. We don't have extra, so you make everything you have last. And once it's served its initial purpose, then you figure out how you can still use it for some other purpose. T-shirts that end up with holes in them, well, now they become cleaning rags, or grease rags, or things like that. And you just repurpose things because you had that mentality that there's just not enough. There's just not enough resources. Where are we going to get more? Money doesn't grow on trees. All these kind of phrases that represent that mentality. And so for myself, going off to university and studying, and then falling in love with the whole personal development paradigm, I got introduced to a lot of new ideas that when I first heard them, it was like, oh yeah, well, that's easy for you to say. That's great. Yeah, that's, you grow up in that environment. I come from this other, but as I've gotten older and done a lot more self-reflection and analysis of what was being said, I've learned a lot of truths that were there that I didn't get taught when I was growing up. But I don't blame my parents. They didn't know. They didn't understand those. Nobody taught them. They didn't have that. They didn't have that to give me. So
Mm-hmm.
as I've grown, I've learned these things, and as I learned them, I tried to teach them to my children as well. But I think a lot of how we approach our problems and what we expect from our problems, on the other side, with how do we handle it and get through it, well, it's all based on that mentality, and it's really our identity. And so I'm limited by my identity.
Mm-hmm.
You probably have heard people talk about, well, my parents never made more than this much money, and so they struggle to get above that number themselves. And maybe once they finally do, then it's okay. But it's there's always this struggle of just trying to get to a point that was more than they were familiar with, and it's your identity. And as the harder grip we have on that identity, the harder it is to learn that there's more. Life is not a zero-sum game.
No.
If I win a client, that doesn't take away from Kaya. And the same way, if Kaya wins a client, it doesn't take away from me, because how many people are on the planet? 8 billion. So there's always another. And how many people are born every year? So over time, more and more clients are available for whatever your business is, whoever's watching. More and more clients are available every year, and they have jobs, which means they have money to pay you. And so your identity, if your identity is, I can only deal with this group of people, and I'm competing with this person, and they keep getting all the clients, well, your identity says, I'm never going to succeed, because it's a zero-sum game. They keep winning, I keep losing. That's how it is. And you have to break out of that identity to say, I know that I can be more, I can do more, I can have more. It's a possibility. It's not guaranteed. Obviously, if it was guaranteed, we would be wealthy, right? I mean, we'd be throwing money around. Hey, here, let me bless you. Let me pay that bill for you. Let me hand you. But as we were talking before we started the show, there's a journey between surviving and thriving.
Yes.
And the thing is, thriving, where is that? What is that mark when you could say, I'm now thriving? Because you can ask people that are making 6 figures, making 100K. they've made it, and they're thriving. But after they've been there for a minute, they go, you know what? It'd be better if I was making 200K. Now they're back in the journey, and now they're striving to get 200K. Once they get 200K, they'll be like, you know what? It'd be better if I was making 500K. And it's just this ongoing, as Zig Ziglar once said, you go as far as you know to go, and when you get there, you can see farther. And so we operate in our identity as far as we know to go, but then we have to push that limit to say, now I can see there's a little bit beyond what I used to could see. Let me go see what that is. Let me see how far I can go. And, if we ever get happy and satisfied and, that journey, I think that's what we need to embrace, is not the finish line. Because the finish, if we're all about the finish line, then that says I can never be happy until I get the finish line. My happiness, my joy, my fulfillment, my contentment is all held in that finish line. So my whole life is miserable, striving, working, stressing, straining, crying, bleeding, all those things until I can finally, and that finish line may keep moving. And so you may never get there. And so you spend your whole life in misery. If you'll rephrase that, reframe it, and understand that, back when I was just surviving, now I'm up here. I may not have gone a long way, but I'm better off than I was. And I can have joy, I can have happiness, I can have fulfillment and contentment in what I have achieved so far. And then because I've achieved that, I can use that as fuel to say, yeah, I know I'm scared to take the next step, but I can use that as fuel to say, well, look how far I've come. Let me see if I can go the next step, and use that as fuel. And then your whole journey becomes that wonderful adventure of realization of, what can I be? What can I do? And, so when we reframe it that way, it becomes it just becomes a better life.
Yes, I like that it becomes a better life. So in other words, what I'm hearing is, it's like a rubber band. Your mind is like a rubber band. You stretch it a little bit, because the first day, you buy it in the pack and it is this tiny. And if you do this, it'll snap back at you and you'll hurt yourself. But you stretch it a little bit. You stretch it, girls have hair ties, and you stretch it, stretch it, stretch it. And once it gets used to the new thing, you cannot unstretch it. Once you know, you cannot not know, unless like dementia or amnesia strikes you. And self-reflection. So what is your identity? In the Vedic scriptures, there is a question which is, once you have the answer to that question, all your problems are solved. You want to know what that question is?
What's that?
Who am I?
Who am I? And that makes sense.
Who am I? Because you are not what you do.
Exactly.
You are not what you have. You are not your marital status. You are not your net worth. You're not your profession. Who are you? And the best way to find this out is in nature or through introspection. Through introspection in nature is a great place to be. Like, who are you? And Jesus said that, I am that I am, And then I add to that. I mean, this is like me adding like 40 years ago. Leave me as I am or take me as I am. Don't try to change me. Now that I love you, let me change you, right?
Right.
And that threshold you were talking about is that glass ceiling. It's your inner critic that keeps you safe and feeling sorry. You're safe. I have my food, I have my clothes, I have my shelter, I have my cell phone, I have my Wi-Fi, I have my Netflix. And
you dislike your job. You're stressed about your children. You're anxious over your relationships.
Your health. your health,
Yeah.
your finances, your future. Worry, 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 worry. And when we talk about the four elements, the earth, fire, air, and
Water.
Yeah. So the worry is the shadow part of air. It's the same old thought, same old thought, same old thought repeating itself. And I'll give you an example of that, which I had the awareness. I'm like, oh my God, this is what it is. But the light of air element is creativity. It's curiosity. So you can always be this critic or choose to be curious, choose to get creative. And every genius out there, everything that you have, that flag, everything, those books, everything came from some form of creativity. And what is creativity called? A spark. And that spark ignites a light within you.
Right.
Right? It is that. It is. And when you mentioned Zig Ziglar, I was going to say something about Zig Ziglar. And you picked it up because it's the transference of energy. You quoted him, and he has too many quotes. And one of them is, if you know what you're selling will serve the person in front of you, it is your moral obligation to sell. So when you are selling someone possibilities, it's your moral obligation, Coach Eric, to tell that person that I can help you. Let's have a conversation.
Right.
That's what we are doing right now, right? It is our moral obligation to continue to spark the fire.
Right.
So that light continues. You also talked about something called your values. And that's a big thing. That's a huge thing. Marriages fall apart because of mismatched values. Children move away and won't talk to their parents because of mismatched values. Right. You say no to your boss and your job because of mismatched values. Your boss will fire you because of mismatched values. So one of the things I like to do with my clients is have them list their values. What are your values? Give me something. And it's not because I need to know from them, because I'm an intuitive, I can, and if you have been around, it's not the first round around the rodeo, you have been there, you know what it is. But at least they start noticing, oh, this is my value. And anytime you get triggered, it's because something is hitting you against that.
Right.
I think kids can watch TV for as long as they want on a Friday and a Saturday. And the husband says no, whether it's Friday or Saturday, they still go to bed at 8. And this is a point of conflict in a marriage on raising kids. Because one person comes from a family where the kids were free, they could do whatever they wanted. And the other one is like, no, you have to be like this. So suddenly for the kids, one becomes the enemy and one becomes the friend. When both of you are parents and all you want is to give your kids, safety, security, all those basic needs, but it's your value system. So when someone is having that conflict within them, I know I have to go to work and I know I need that money and I know I need that paycheck so I can have my insurance, I can pay my mortgage bills or my rent or something, then what is it? But I am not happy. I'm unhappy. I do not have peace. I do not have happiness. I do not have contentment. I feel disturbed, that's the midlife crisis, right. Generic term, midlife, it's the midlife, right? People go and change the color of their hair, they go and get a noisy vehicle or get a vehicle and put some noise into it. I have seen people do that. The car goes by and you think it's a motorcycle. I'm like, what happened? Oh, it's midlife. Let's continue this conversation. Yeah. So what else can we do? Because all we want to do is look at me, look at me. When my daughter used to swim and she was on the noodle and she wasn't wearing the jacket and she's like, daddy, look at me. So
Right.
and that's what we are all doing, right? Look at me. I'll have a noisy motorcycle or a car that sounds like a motorcycle.
Yeah.
So what what is your perspective on this when someone is going through that conflict within themselves? They have everything they need. Maybe they even have a house and a boat and a Learjet, but they are still missing that within them.
Mhm.
What comes up for you, Eric?
So that is, like you said, it's a very important thing, and it is definitely worth the time to go through the exercise, to whether you write it down or not. Now, I'm going to encourage you to write it down, because if you don't write it down, you probably won't get to the bottom of it. So write it down, because you got to get it out of your head. As I heard someone say, if you're stuck in your head, you're dead. um, and the problem with that is, especially like professional athletes, it's such a mind game of their mindset going into a competition, that they're going to hit the pitch, or they're going to throw the right pitch, or they're going to make the 3-point shot, or they're going to block the shot, or they're going to hit the golf swing and get it on the fairway, or they're going to be off in the rough. Yeah, but it's that mentality of what they're expecting, and the mindset of, I'm on a good day. People talk about being in the zone, and that's, that when things seem to just keep going right, and we're not really having to try hard, but just things keep going right, you're in the zone. And that's a wonderful feeling. But, it all goes to that mindset. And so your values have a lot to do with your mindset. And so if you don't get to the bottom of that, of what it is that you value, it can be very dangerous, because you are driven as a human being. We are driven to satisfy that, our need for those values. And if we don't identify exactly what those values are, then we're trying to fill a hole, but we don't know what to fill it with. And so that's why so many people end up filling it with an alcohol bottle, or some prescription thing, substance, or illegal things,
Or an affair. How about that?
and so, I'm not trying to reprimand anybody. I'm just stating the facts. I mean, I work with a group of men who have gone through that very thing. In their lives, things weren't perfect, and they made a couple of bad choices, and it took them down a bad road, and they ended up losing families and losing their freedom, having to go to prison, different things like this. And now they're in a position where they've got an opportunity to try to recover their life. And I'm trying to help with that, but I can't do it for them. It has to be them. I'm a guide. I'm helping, and I'm providing support and encouragement. On a weekly basis, we meet, and I provide them input, just like we're doing today, just kind of conversation. This program is actually Christian faith centered, so we use the Bible and use that as information that we teach from, and give them this book that has been around for thousands of years, to something that they can tangibly get hold of. They can read it for themselves. We help them to read it and understand what it means, and how to apply it to their lives, and how it can help them to live better lives. And now, having said all of that, we come back to just the average person, whether you're a Christian believer, or some other faith, or you don't even have a faith. I don't believe anybody doesn't have a faith. We all live by some kind of faith. It's just whatever you want to call it. But defining those values becomes important, because that will guide where you think you need to go. What do I need to do? Because my values drive that. And if you have misidentified some values, you think your value is, I've got to have a lot of money. And then you go out and you bust your tail, and you do whatever it takes, and you achieve, and you stack up stacks and stacks of money. And now you've got all this money and you're sitting there and you feel empty, and you've ruined relationships. You've manipulated people. You've done all these because you did whatever it took to get that money. And now you've got all this regret and guilt and shame. And you thought that that was worth the exchange of that to get what you thought you valued. And now you have it and you still feel empty. And so now what do I do? Well, you didn't identify your real value. So that's why I think, as you were saying, it becomes very critical to understand what our values are, and take the time to be critical of yourself, not critical in a bad way, but critical, being honest with yourself, critical, honest. Tell yourself the truth. Don't lie to yourself. What do you really value? If love from your family is your number one thing, write that down. My number one thing is love from my family. And so the things that you do all need to support that. Now that usually we can't make money doing that. So how do we survive? Well, you've got other values, but you take all those values and say, now, how do I live my life to honor my values and still not just survive, but thrive. And so that's, that's what I see as you were sharing, that it's not an easy exercise, to be honest with yourself, because we get so accustomed to deceiving ourselves. I'm okay. I'm just fine. Everything's fine. When it's not, we, it'll, don't worry about it. I can handle it. I got this under control. When we don't, all those kind of things. And
I'm a big kid. I shouldn't cry.
Right. I'm a guy. It's a weakness to cry,
Yeah.
All of these kind of misconceived ideas. It's hard to be completely honest with yourself, but you can't get over the hump until you get honest with yourself. So
yes, I have had women come on the calls with me, and initially they will be like, and they'll have one tear and they'll be like, I'm sorry. Why are you sorry? It's okay. You're safe here with me. You're safe.
Right.
Allow yourself the pleasure of just being able to cry without the guilt of. And when you were talking about the value system of saving, repurposing, that's called recycling.
Yeah.
Our ancestors did it so well because we cared. And now we are like, oh, I'll just throw my tin foil, aluminum foil, or whatever it is, I'll just throw trash. And in wealthy countries, we think like, oh, these are all clean. Oh, it's so good. Look at the highways. Everyone is so good and nice, and everything is so pretty and dandy, and everyone has a car. And the trash is taken out to the oceans and dumped in the third world countries.
Yeah.
You pay them some money because, no more landfill in Iowa, no more landfill in Ohio, wherever there are landfills, then it goes into the ocean. And we have these islands of plastic floating around in the middle of Pacific. So let there be no shame about that. The two worst emotions, more than fear or anything, is shame and guilt. Because that's another thing that happens when people get on this personal growth journey. They stop blaming everyone else, and then they start blaming themselves. Like, oh, it's my fault. It must be my fault. I should have done this. I could have done this. I need to do this. I must do this. But if you're 50 years old, if you're 45 years old, if you're 40 years old, and you're driving the car, you're not alone. There are 39 orphaned versions of you, scared, on this journey with you. Wherever you show up, all these orphaned versions of you, feeling sad, guilty, hurt, angry, they are there with you. So this is where the role of a coach comes in, who can sit with you and let you know that you're safe, you're not alone, and you have someone on your team. Let's say your name is John. There is someone on Team John, and that is your coach. If your name is Sally, there's someone on your team, Sally. You have a coach, someone who's cheering for you. I mean, that's what, when you mention athletes, that's what came for me. There's no athlete, even if there's an athlete who sat on the bench all his life, he still has a coach.
Still has a coach. Probably more than one.
Yes, because you need that someone in your support team to play the game of life at that world-class level. And you're like, I don't even know what a world-class level means, you know? That's not for me. That's for Elon Musk, and that is for the president, that's for the king, and that's for the queen. No, you can play your life at that world-class level. It's for your kids, it's for your brothers and sisters, it's in your community, it's for your neighbors. Why wouldn't you want that?
Yeah. I'm sorry to cut you off. No, you were
No,
on a roll.
no. Go for it.
But playing at that world-class level, right? What is that, right? As fast as I could ever run, if I could run twice as fast as I can right now, I'll still never run as fast as Usain Bolt. I'm just, or Noah Lyles, or, any of these, what we call world-class athletes, that they're just super fast. But that's what they're supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
I was not designed to be a world-class sprinter. I'm just not. I don't have the passion for it. Number two, I don't have the physique. I didn't have the training to do that. I didn't have the diet and the nutrition and all of that stuff. I didn't have the coaches to move me in that direction from the time I was small to harness my talents and energies to mold me in that way. But what I did have is I had parents who encouraged me with the idea that I could be more than just the average person, that I could achieve something in life. I had teachers in school who, not necessarily to me, but told my parents, that, hey, he's going to be a leader someday. People tend to follow him, and through life, I've observed things that happen for me or through me that are not what the average person might see. And as a result, I have had to adjust my view of who I am, as we were talking earlier. Who are you? And you're not all the extrinsic stuff. Who are you is not, it's not so much what you do, but why you do it. Yes. We are our why. If you want to kind of think about it that way. Why do I do the things I do? Why do I think the way I think? Why do I value the things I value? That's what helps me understand who I am. And so understanding, let me just give you a short example. So everywhere you go, you have to stand in line. Everywhere. The DMV, Walmart, Disneyland, wherever you go.
Airport.
Airport, you're always standing in line. And it almost seems invariable that wherever the line is, there's traffic that needs to go by. And so they've got to find a way to get through the line because you can't go around it, right? It's blocking the whole walkway. So they've got to cut through the line somewhere. And for years, I would be standing in line and people would come up to the line and they would look up and down the line and they would look at me and they would come to cut through the line where I'm standing. It's like, what? Do I have a sign on my head that says, pick me, I'll let you cut through? And it agitated me for years because I didn't understand, right? My perception of that event, like we talked last time, it's just an event. They didn't mean anything by it, but I gave it the meaning that they thought of me as somebody they could manipulate or they could step over or, they could force me to let them through. That was the meaning I gave it. But because it frustrated me, I began to look and do that self-reflection, to be honest with myself. Why is that bothering me? And so, okay, well, it's bothering me for a number of reasons, and I won't go into all of that. Then I began to reflect, well,
why would they pick me out of all of those people in that line? Why did they pick me? Because people are not usually, most people are not looking for the confrontation.
Mm-hmm.
They're looking for the easy path.
Yeah.
And so some reason they came up to the line and they evaluated all the options and they looked at me as the welcoming, the easy path. Now, I was taking that to mean that I was easy, that I was a pushover, that I was, but I reevaluated that. And the way that I have been built by my God
Mm-hmm.
is I've been gifted with an ability to make people feel comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
By the way I speak, by the way I carry myself, by the way I just appear. And because of that, they come up to the line and they see this guy. And yes, apparently I did have a sign on my head that said, pick me, I'll let you through. But that was not a bad thing. Now I look at it as a blessing that I am that kind of person that people can be. And that's one of the reasons I'm being a coach is if people feel comfortable with me and they're willing to let their guard down a little bit, then I can help them. And if I can help them, then they get better. And I get better too, because I get a blessing just from helping them.
Yes.
So it's a win-win, right? I get to fulfill my purpose in life of helping other people, So you got something?
Yes. You said the word reevaluate, because first you think like, am I a doormat? Am I a loser? Am I a pushover? But then when you reevaluate it, and the word is attached to the word value.
Mm-hmm.
This is the value I bring.
Right.
When I'm standing in line, because this is who I am. This goes back to who am I?
Mm-hmm.
I bring value, I am a friendly person. I am a person who will make way for you. There's so much that's going on in this that I can say over here. And it comes down to fulfilling your purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And when you find that fulfillment, you've lived a life.
Right.
You don't need money. You don't need anything to show to anyone, to prove to anyone or anything.
Mm-hmm.
Because within you, you're in integrity. You're intact. You're whole. You're complete. And that is what we do. That no matter which business you're in, whether you're a nurse, you're a lawyer, you're an accountant, you want to be whatever, an interior decorator. There's another profession I found a few years ago, organizer. I'll come and organize your house. And I'm like, huh?
Professional organizer.
Professional yes, if you want to start a business as a professional organizer and you're great at organizing and you go and help your friends and family and you don't get paid for it, hey, you have someone over here who can help you go from doing this for free for others, get into a place where you get to get paid and valued for the value you bring in others' life. And that is why knowing your value is so important.
Mm-hmm. While you're taking a sip there, the other thing that I was going to point out from what you said earlier is you said in affluent countries where everything is clean and everything looks nice and pretty and everybody's got a car. And we also find, especially here in the United States, that mentality of being self-made. I'm a self-made man. I'm a self-made woman. I did this on my own. Nobody succeeds on their own.
No.
How can you succeed by yourself? If you want to succeed, you need others. That's the only way you can. I mean, if you've got a product and you're trying to sell the product, if nobody buys it, how can you succeed? If you have a service to offer, but nobody takes you up on your service, how can you succeed? If you are a professional athlete, if you have no competitors, then how can you succeed? You have to have other people in order to succeed. So to say you are self-made is a misstatement. You cannot make yourself by yourself. You can't make your success by yourself. It requires other people. And the important thing is to understand that you are not that other person.
Mm-hmm.
I am not Kea, and Kea is not Eric.
Mm-hmm.
And I could never be Kea. As hard as I might try, I would be a shadowy imitation.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I would be a shallow imitation of who she is, and vice versa. You know,
Exactly.
we might try very hard, but I don't have her experiences. I didn't live the life she lived. I don't have the education she has. I haven't overcome the same obstacles. So even though we see a lot of things the same way, and have the same kind of ideas about some things, there are differences, nuances that
Mm-hmm.
make us unique. And
Yes.
we have to embrace that, because that's part of who we are. That's the way we were designed. That's the way we developed. And so it's part of our identity. And if we try to cast that off, how do you throw yourself away? You can't really do that. You know, you have to embrace it and then figure out how to integrate that into fulfilling your purpose.
Yes, like, if you like a singer and you sing their song, sing it in your own voice. Don't try to sing in their voice, because people will be like, why do I need to listen to you? I already have the record albums. I can go to Spotify, I can go to YouTube and listen to them. I want to hear you in your own voice.
Mm-hmm.
You are as unique as your voice print. You are as unique as your fingerprint. And that is your soul signature. So one of the things you said was, in that fulfillment, you can have so many things. And if that is ego driven and that is not your purpose, you cannot find a contentment.
Mm-hmm.
It is so important. And one of the things this week that came up for me is, because I'm a healer and I can lay my hands on people and help them heal. I can just sit and listen to people and help them heal. I don't work I do all my sessions over Zoom. And even right now, before I got on this call, I was working with this lady and she said something. She had worked with me in the past, like maybe 10, 11 years ago. And she has come back again because now she's at a different place in her life. And she says, Kea, and you had told this. And she didn't say the word told. She says, you predicted this, that this would happen in October this time. And then my husband would tell me that he loves me. And he did.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I don't even remember having said any of this. And this is last October.
Yeah.
Okay, this is 12 months later. But when her husband told her that he loved her, and she remembered me saying this to her.
Mm-hmm.
And she said that this thing happened and my husband told me he loves me and you had predicted it. And I was like, okay, sometimes I sound creepy because I have no idea, because this is not for me to know.
Mm.
This is all divinely orchestrated. I'm just this vessel and it's flowing through me, and it cannot be ego driven. It
Right.
has to come from source, through source. You're just the vessel, you're just the instrument. So when you want to live, so again, going back to that world-class life, it is that what makes your life world-class? Don't compare
Mm-hmm.
it to anyone else.
Right.
I heard someone say, don't be in comparanoia. I compare and then I'm in paranoia. Oh, I'm not as good as them.
Right.
Don't compare yourself to anyone, even if you have a identical twin, because he or she has their life path. You have yours.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you are in the same business together. And I have even seen on television, never in person, but on television, I have seen children who are born joint in some part of their body. And for whatever reason, the doctor did not operate them and separate them. So they live together, like they have to go to the bathroom together, they have to sleep. But they want to be in relationships with other people.
Right.
But because you're joint in the body, you share the same brain or the same heart or whatever it is, you are physically attached, but emotionally, You need something else. You
Mhm.
need someone else. And that is emotional wellness. You have, it doesn't matter how much money you have, how many girlfriends you have, how many men friends you have, whatever you have. But if this is not healed, it is a sad space.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So who are you being when you're doing something? Who are you being when you're having something? Who
Mhm.
are you being? When I am with my children, I'm being their mother.
Right.
Yeah. You know, so no one takes that away from me, but sometimes it has become extended that even for my clients, I become their mother. For my friends, I become their mother. Sometimes my father says, "Oh, you're like my mother," you know. So you have to have that fine line between it. But who are you being? Like
Mhm.
even my client says, you know, I come to you, although my mother is still here, I come to you because I feel like I'm with a mother who loves me. And I'm like, yeah, of course I love you.
Mhm.
And it is that thing. So who, but that's my value system.
Right. Yeah.
And you have that uniqueness of what is your value system. And if you are staying up at night because of something, or you wake up and you find it hard to go back, it's because your soul's urge, your soul's purpose is not being fulfilled.
Mhm.
That is the time when you have to reach out to someone who's open to having a conversation with you, hear you, you feel seen, and more than anything, you feel understood.
Mhm.
You feel understood, and you walk away with something, like at least one mini step,
Mhm.
one mini step in your journey of purpose finding, your journey of fulfillment, in your journey of that world-class life that you were
Right.
born to live.
Yeah.
Because God makes no mistake. God doesn't
Yeah.
make junk,
Right.
right?
Yep. Yeah, that when you say, waking up in the early hours or the middle of the night, and there's you can't get back to sleep, that's probably one of those good times to have a notebook handy,
Mm-hmm.
or whether it's your cell phone or whatever, but to jot those thoughts down that you can't get away from, that are keeping you awake. Don't analyze them right then. Just write them down.
Mm-hmm.
Everything that's got you paranoid, everything that's got you stressed, everything that's got you worried, anxious, whatever it is, the reasons that you can't go back to sleep, write them down.
Mm-hmm.
And, the next morning when you get up, and when you find a break in the day, look that list over and think about it. Why was I worried about this? Why am I thinking about this? Um, and if nothing comes to mind, then like Coach Kaya said, contact one of us and talk
Yes.
about it. Because I'm gonna tell you this: sometimes sometimes our job is easy because somebody will come to talk to us,
Mm-hmm.
and they're talking to us and they're asking us questions, and in the middle of asking the question, they go, "Never mind, I just answered my own question."
Yes.
And it's interesting how when we finally break that wall down, that I'm willing to talk about this, I'm willing to try to figure this out, then all of a sudden the answers start coming.
Mm-hmm.
Now sometimes it's really easy like that, and sometimes it takes a little more work. So if it don't happen real easy like that, don't get stressed and don't give up.
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking about this earlier today. Wasn't sure exactly what we were going to talk about today, but one of the things that came to my mind was, many times people get frustrated in trying to become, trying to figure things out, and so they'll try something and it doesn't work and they give up. Or they try to, they turn over the new leaf, they make New Year's resolutions, they do these things. I'm going to be a new person, and they put a little effort in and it doesn't go the way they want it to, and then they quit. They just, that's it, I'm done, I tried, that's it. Here's the thing: try again.
Mm-hmm.
And you say, but I've already tried. Yes,
Don't do it alone.
that other person, that, like Coach K said, those 39 other people behind you that were the previous yous, they tried and it didn't work. You are a new person
Exactly.
because you've gone through new experiences, you've overcome new things, You've read new things, you've seen new things, you've talked to people and heard new things. All of these things make you a different person, hopefully better. Sometimes we live lives that are harmful to us, but most of the time we experience things that actually make us better. And so try again. If it didn't work last time, try again. Talk to somebody. A good reason to talk to a coach. Hey, look, this is what I want to do. I tried this, I tried this, I tried this, I tried this. These are the results I got. What do I do? What am I missing? And just talk through it. And again, sometimes just talking to somebody about it, you go, you know what? I know what I need to do.
Exactly.
And you solve your own problem. But, I wanted to encourage people today to try one more time. You never know. Reading a book, you say, I hate reading. Try one more time. Well, I'm an introvert. I don't like meeting people. Try to meet one more person. I applied for that job. I've been turned down 3 times already. Try one more time.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. You never know when that one thing is going to be the tipping point in your life that everything goes good from there. You never know. It might be that one person you meet. It might be the one job you get. It might be the one book you read. You never know. But if you don't try that one more time, you may miss it. So don't give up.
Many things are coming up for me now. One of the things is water boils at 100 degrees, right? Centigrade.
Right.
If after 99 degrees you say like, it's not going to boil, and you stop, that 1 degree, that's all you needed. It's that 1 degree. You just do it one more time. Why would you give up on yourself? And when you quit on yourself, how can you expect others to not quit on you?
Very good. Very good.
Right? Only what you do for yourself, others can do for you. It's really important to know that. And I can't sit by myself. If you can't sit with yourself, why should anyone else want to sit with you? Introspection is your own. And when you need to talk to someone, don't talk to your friends and family. They already know you. They have seen you pick your nose, scratch your butt, take the garbage out. Do you think they have respect for your ideas? They are already full of their troubles. And then if you all sit in a circle just by yourself, yeah, man, what's the question? How's it going? Same old, same old. How's it going? Not too bad. What does it mean, not too bad? What do you mean, same old, same old? Or could be better. Or I have even heard people say, couldn't be better. I'm like, seriously, it couldn't get better than this? Like what? You're walking on water already? It can't get better than this? Yeah. And this is like another thing. Go break a leg. I'm like, break a leg? What is that? When I came to this country and I heard people say, go break a leg. And I'm like, what is that? These are, I love you to bits. I love him to death. He'll die on you. I love him to pieces. I love him to pieces.
Right.
Pieces. Yeah. It is those things, to become suddenly mindful of these words you use, because every word is a prayer. Every word is a prophecy. And even the words.
Force. Yeah.
Yeah. And when you say spelling, how do you spell a word? It's a spell. It's a spell you're casting. So when we become mindful of the words we are using, suddenly you realize how much more power you have before you cast that spell, before you say those words. When it comes to seriously looking at what is it the next thing for you, there is no answer better than working with a coach. Just take us up on our free offers to just call us and have a conversation. The links are in the show notes, in the description. Go click on that link and hook up with either Eric or me or both of us. It doesn't matter. And let's continue this conversation. And I seriously wish for you a life of no regrets. guilt-free.
Yes. Filled with joy.
Absolutely. Joy, peace, contentment, prosperity, abundance.
Right. Yeah.
The sky isn't the limit. You can go beyond the sky.
Yep. Einstein said your imagination is your preview of the future. You put it to good use.
Thank you.
If I could be anywhere, I'd be here with you, sharing our healing hearts, our hope and our truth. Joy overflows here at the crossroads. Here at the crossroads. Oh, here at the crossroads.